It's noisy. Okay, Adam?
Hi, yes.
Yeah, what can we help you with?
Well, apparently I bought my house too late to put it in for the exemption for the primary residence. And I think it's quite unfair that the house that I've been living in for the last 10 years, well, even longer than that, is priced at the non-primary residence house. It was tied up in a trust, and then I was able to pay it off and get it in my name, but I did it after the date, so that I have to pay the taxes on the first 100,000. I just don't have it.
Was it, explain the trust thing.
Okay. There was a family trust that I inherited after my mom died. The house was tied up in it.
Were you the only trustee?
I am a trustee. I'm one of the trustees. So it wasn't in my name, so I couldn't apply for the primary status. But this has been my primary and sole home since my mom passed away. I sold my house and put the money into the business.
Okay, so this is basically purchasing a different house. So it's not like you were already living there for a lot of years, getting the homeowner's exemption and then paid it off. You were getting homeowner's exemption for their home.
My parents had an office building on Broadway, and they financed the house because they could get a lower interest rate, but then they tied it up in the trust. When they died, I bought it for my brothers by selling my other house and using my inheritance.
When was that?
Actually, that was like 10 years ago, but they just finally paid it off through the business, just like July 20th. And I got the house July 20th or like 22nd, like right in those 2-3 days.
Did you have the homeowner's exemption for those 10 years?
No, it wasn't able to.
Okay.
Because it wasn't in my name.
Okay.
But I think that I should get it. I think it's a silly law that if you just file for it after the fact, that you don't get it for that first year. And I'm being taxed on, my sole house. Like the spirit of it is, if you only have one property, you get a tax deduction, right? That's the purpose.
That's not necessarily the spirit of it. That is the law.
Okay.
There are specific details of the law. You know, we appreciate the spirit of a lot of laws, but we have to enforce them the way they're written.
Okay. So
when did you file your application, and when did you change?
I didn't actually file it until October when I made the first payment, which pretty much wiped me out. I made.
What was the date transferred on the deed?
The 24th of July, or the 22nd of July.
Of July? Okay.
Yes. So I couldn't have turned it in on time anyway.
Right.
And then when I found out how much the taxes were and how outrageous it was, because I don't have, $5,000 or $4,300 a year to pay in taxes. Like, I just don't have it.
Yeah. You have any questions, Brian, or any comments, Karalee?
No, his dates are working with what I found.
Okay.
Is there and there's not a provision to do a partial for this year where he bought it after the date?
No, there's not.
No, the law is pretty clear. It's after anything, and just the history of the law. I do agree with you on one thing. It's very difficult. You call it a silly law, but it's pretty close. The law used to be that you had to be owner occupied on January 1st. And so they took a look at a lot of the inequality of that and moved it to April 15th, largely because by that time the assessor has to certify the rolls, and that's how the other taxing entities who, we collect approximately 75% of the taxes for, set their budgets. so we don't have a mechanism for going back and changing that later. It's basically, like I stated before, we can't enforce the spirit of the law. I think is fair. We have to enforce the law as it's written. It'd have to be a legislative change to change that, unfortunately.
Okay, well, when I called Ruby, it made it sound like I could appeal this, and you're telling me that there's nothing, I'm just hosed. Is that what you're telling me?
So,
Because I'm going to be kind of upset.
I don't blame you for being upset, but yes, you can appeal it, but we have to look at the facts on the appeal. Because generally, if there's some type of an error made on the
Okay, but I don't have a second house. This is my primary residence. So shouldn't I be entitled to what everyone else gets?
You're entitled to what everyone else gets under the law. And under the law, you're entitled to the first year if you're owner occupied on or before April 15th.
Okay, so everyone that bought a house after April just doesn't get it.
They're subject to the same tax that you are. No
Yeah.
home exemption until the next. It's not, I don't know how to make that law equitable unless they just put a provision where we would be allowed to collect that back or take it from, the other taxing entities. Where is your house?
2142 Brandon Drive.
And Brandon's on the west side.
Yeah, so I'm about 100 feet away from Eagle Rock Junior High.
Okay, I'm trying to think of who your legislators are.
That
So-
would be Dave Lant, and I think that would be in the interior dome hole, wouldn't it? Would that be Barbara Ehart?
Ehart, Land, and Marco Erickson.
Marco Erickson.
Okay, so who do I talk to? Because this, I mean,
One of them.
this is ridiculous. Is there some way I can pay less? Because paying the first round, I thought would get me through the end of the year. And that was apparently taxes I owed previous, and I'm wiped out. I don't know how I'm paying for Christmas. That's what you guys are doing to me. Or that's what the law is doing to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can, do you have a mortgage through a mortgage or?
No, it's paid off.
Yeah.
I actually have to start paying the insurance here in December too.
You can
But-
defer that, but then again, the state statute sets penalty and interest, which we can't get around either.
Okay. I mean, do you guys think that at all that the tax when you buy a house, you pay a tax when you sell a house, and then you guys tax a house twice a year is extremely outrageous? When do I actually own the house? When you go to Walmart, you buy a loaf of bread, you don't keep paying tax on it. You pay tax on it once.
I agree.
So
That's the law and the property tax statutes, and we're required to enforce the laws the way they're written
okay.
and make it up as we go.
So is there anyone that I can appeal this to? Because it doesn't sound like you guys can help me.
You can appeal it to a district court if we turn it down, or you can talk to your legislators and try to get the law changed.
Which will take 100 years and I still end up owing the money.
Yes.
All right. So what were you guys' names again?
I'm Roger Christensen.
I'm Brian Reed.
Okay. So there's nothing I can do to anybody, and I just have to pay $2,500 or $2,200 that I don't have. That's where we stand. Because when I talked to Ruby, she made it sound like I could appeal to you guys and you guys could overturn this.
Oh,
Well, we can look at the situation, and as Commissioner Christian said, if there's been a mistake made on the county end, then we could certainly overturn it. We could do something. But in this situation, according to the law, which we have to enforce, it comes from the state, our hands are pretty tied. We'd be glad to get you the information of how to appeal it to the district court, but I don't see an avenue they've got either, but that would be your right to do that if you would like. We understand your frustration. We are frustrated with the property tax issues as well, but we're just.
Well, are you guys doing anything to change it?
We work every year with the legislature to try to make property taxes more equitable for homeowners.
Okay.
We really do.
So who's the legislature of my area? You said it was Hart or something? And how do I contact him?
I would say your best, what number should I give him, Roger? I don't know. It would be Barbara E. Hart would be a good one to start with, I think. And let me look up her number right now.
And the other legislators are Dave Lamp and Marco Rubio. Probably, he just barely got elected.
David what? Lent? L-E-N-T.
Marco Rubio just got elected, but won't take office till January.
Marco Rubio.
Oh, not Rubio, Erickson.
Erickson.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I know that name.
So I've got a number for Barbara E. Hart on her legislative page.
Okay.
It's 208-332-1189. I've got a feeling that you'll reach her quicker by email, and the email is BEHARDT. So it's
Okay.
BEHARDT.
But she has an elective page. I can, okay. Yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah. Yeah, look her up on the Idaho legislative page, her and Dave Land.
Okay. I mean, that there's no wiggle room or possible chance for negotiation or like just this is the way it is. I mean, doesn't make me feel good about this. I kind of don't want to vote for like either of you now. I mean, this upsets me quite a bit.
I understand that, and we can't make decisions of law based on whether or not we're going to get a vote or not. I mean, the wiggle room we have, you're asking us to violate the law, which I can't do.
No, I'm just asking for the exemption that everybody else gets.
Which is a violation of law in this case with the facts that we've got.
Yeah, honestly, nobody is getting that exemption who bought their house after the April 15th. Nobody's treated any different than you.
Well, I talked to one of your aides yesterday, and she said that she was in my boat, and she bought hers after that date. And then I found out that because the previous people had applied for it, that she got out of it, that she didn't have to pay for it. So if somebody else applied for it, you know, she gets out of paying the increase in tax. She actually got the discount, but I don't. Like whoever I talked to on Friday, it wasn't Ruby, it was the other one. She said, I know exactly how you feel. The same thing happened to me. And then a few minutes later, she's like, but the previous homeowners bought their house and they applied for it. So I got to carry that over.
Yeah,
so it does seem like there's some wiggle room in there, just not for me.
I know I'm happy to do anything if there is room to do it. Karalee, is there any way an exemption can be filed in a situation like this?
No, not the way the law was written for 2020.
So where would have he got that information from? Because it probably came out of your office.
We talked about it, a new owner who purchased a home who already had an existing exemption on it.
Because that carries through to the end of the year once the application's made. That's another questionable part of the law, but it's the way it's written.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of disappointed in everything right now. I mean, you want to know how to switch votes. I mean, this is a good way on how to do it. So, I mean, I'm very upset, and I don't know how to tell you that I'm more upset without like
I think you've communicated that pretty well, but unfortunately, I think that's where we are.
Well, I'm sorry for wasting your time and mine. I'll let you go.
Okay, thanks.
We're sorry too.
And you guys know I did not tell him he could appeal anything.
Yeah.
Well, you said I could appeal to them.
No, I said that if it was the fault of the counties, but you would need to present it